Avalon Digital. Is this something that we've talked about ever? I don't know.
I mean, I know Avalon Hill.
Oh, you're talking about Carrier Battles that just released?
I was getting to that, yes.
Spoiler alert. Jump ahead, go right to the punchline without any of the build-up.
I mean, well, I think we're all familiar. I even think that we should get Philippe. I don't want to try to pronounce his last name because I don't have it in front of me and I don't really remember it, but I would probably butcher it anyway. But
Hey, that's my thing.
Rated EU.
I'm gonna have to kick you off this podcast if you start butchering things. Also,
Philippe. I think he's the famous creator of the board game Europa Universalis. I think he worked.
Also, the legendary Civil War 2. That's why I love him. He made that game. I love Civil War 2.
So yeah, I think he created Ajod or co-founded. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't have his credentials in front of me, but he's well known in the wargaming industry. I think we all know, and he now is the head person in front of Avalon Digital, which I don't really know anything about, but I only was recently contacted about it because I was given press access to the Carrier Battles for Guadalcanal game. So this is one of the games I played recently. I have a long list. This work from home business is really working out for my gaming career. Anyway, Carrier Battles is Avalon Digital. It's a...
Dear HR, Eric, the Tortuga Power Gamer, is playing many games on the clock.
They don't know that. Look, I feel like I have a pretty negative viewpoint of PC ports when it's like a tablet port to PC. I'm always a little bit critical. I was of this one as well. I posted a semi-positive, but also somewhat critical review of Carrier Battles on my channel, and I don't think it was. I had some crashes. I don't know. The interface. Look, I'm probably a little bit more. I put the magnifying glass up to a game, which is a port. I just want it. It's like I feel like maybe like a needy partner in a relationship where I'm like, I really want to feel loved. I really want to know that you treat me right when you're coming from a different person. No, this analogy is breaking down.
Where is this going?
I really want to know that a port is like in...
Listen, when you're cheating with Tortuga, he wants to feel like he's number one.
Tell me I'm number one at least. Yeah, I guess if you're going to go to Android, or this one was, I guess, in the Apple App Store. If you're going to come on to PC...
Who would ever publish there, right?
For the iPad version, it's called Carrier Battles for Guadalcanal, and it says it's made by Cyril Jarnot. I don't know if he's part of Avalon Hill.
Yeah, it's a one-man dev team, I believe. And now I think that he was in contact... Is it listed there as Avalon Digital? I don't think so. Yeah, so it's Avalon Digital, which is bringing it to the PC. Which, okay, first of all, great. Thank you, Philippe. But, on the other hand, just... I would love to see... This game, I think, is really... It has a lot of potential. And that's such a cliche way of saying...
Oh, don't
good,
say that.
Not but it does. It really... I feel like it could be... I mean, it just needs to smooth out some things... I don't know. TSU, you actually saw me playing it. What were your thoughts about it? I'm going to pass the buck. Let you say it.
I only watched for 30 minutes and I haven't played it. I do have it in my library somewhere. I felt like the maps were too small. Granted, I was watching Midway, so you probably had more ships than other maps, but it just felt like it was too much like, all right, you're going to move left to right across this map, and eventually you're going to spot enemy ships, and then you're going to go after them. But like, there didn't seem to be any tactics from like a naval maneuver perspective. And again, I was only watching, but it just felt like the maps were too constrained. The combat had some really weird results, like 6 unescorted Devastators versus like 8 zeros, and it was like, oh, you shot down 1 Devastator, and then the other, the Devastators all made it in, and lo and behold, their torpedoes apparently work now, because that was a thing.
And they sank. Oh man, that pissed me off. And I mentioned that in my video too, which I didn't have as proof. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Without Eve, I'll slip you a 20 later Thank you for creating this story, which verifies.
And the 401k matching program has begun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just felt like the combat results were a little bit weird. I thought visually, as far as like a board game kind of type style, it was fine. But I just felt like there was not enough room for maneuver for the ships. The maps were too small, and then the air combat results just felt weird. They didn't feel like they were properly balanced or scaled. I mean, again, you could get a flight of unescorted bombers come in against a large number of combat air patrol, and the combat air patrol basically did nothing, and then the bombers pretty much always pressed home the attack and always got big hits. And I don't know, it just felt a little bit weird. It didn't feel terribly representative of everything I've read anyway on naval air combat in the Pacific.
Were you there when I got into the actual surface engagement with my battleships?
No, but I will say that like also the turn style and the way that aircraft I think were too weak, and it was too easy to just like keep running your ships east, and eventually they'd collide with the enemy's surface vessels. Like it just didn't feel at all like Midway, right? Like I know Japan technically did get kind of close to the U.S. carriers, but still, like it did not feel like I was watching a Battle of Midway game.
Yeah, I had a surface engagement where the two battleships, the older ones, but the Congo, I think. What were the two that started in the south? I forget. But it was like the two battleships. I think they had
the Hai or the Haruna or something.
It wasn't the Haruna, but yeah, it might have been the Hiei. Anyways, it was two of the older battleships. They were escorted by some destroyers and maybe a cruiser as well. Ran into I'm not joking, just one light cruiser and 4 American destroyers. Or maybe it was 5, but I think it was 4. Regardless, in this surface engagement, which was midday with no overcast, so I guess decent visibility, the Japanese ended up eating American torpedoes. Had the 2 battleships sank 1 destroyer, and two Japanese destroyers were sank, and both the battleships were damaged in the fight. I was like, what world am I looking at that this would happen? 1 light cruiser and 4 destroyers for the Americans in broad daylight get close enough to actually do damage, physical damage, not just with torpedoes, but with guns.
And in 1942, right? Like, we're not talking 1945 with all the radar and all the advanced technology that the U.S. ships have had by that point. You're talking 1942.
Yeah, anyway, so I think this is kind of an interesting game, and what I took away from it, somebody else mentioned this to me, and then I later internalized it and decided this is my ultimate opinion on the game. I think it's a very good game for Android. I don't think it's on Android, unfortunately. I think it's only on Apple, which is a crying shame because...
Why on Android?
Because I have an Android. I don't have an Apple device.
Okay.
So I would think that it would be great if they would port it from one very exclusive iOS system to, just to Android, which is, if they're focusing on tablets, then focus on tablets. Go to Android. Because this is a game I could see myself playing. It's kind of like a time killer you could use on your phone or on a tablet. But
when are you ever killing time on a tablet nowadays? We're all locked in our homes. Like it's computer bust, man.
Yeah, this probably won't appeal to me in particular, but I could see it happening. Anyway, I don't want to bog down too much. Carrier Battles is an interesting game. Look at it if you'd like, but
I played it on my iPad, on the go, and I really enjoyed every time I played it. The Midway Battle of the Guadalcanal. I haven't noticed the things that you were mentioning, but it's been a while since I played it.
I mean, in my session, by the way, I played for like 2.5 hours, and I wanted to get through it because I wanted to establish a reasonable basis for a review. But I also played it, and I didn't realize it had been 2.5 hours. So I think that there can be some enjoyability here. That's why I don't want to dismiss the game. I wouldn't call it bad. I just think that it might already be better. Cyril, I think he's the dev. I think he's been working on things. A lot of my comments were pre-release.
I mean, I didn't play it. I mean, the only thing I would add is I think you're right, Tortuga. I think my main criticism, I think there's things to like about it, and it certainly could be something you could pour a bit of time into it from what I could see. I think my main concern would be One, I don't think I'm interested in a game that's quite that basic, at least from a viewing perspective. I'm more Gary Grigsby than I am mobile ports of carrier games. But then the second part is just the combat results seemed weird. But that theoretically, that's something you should be able to balance and get right. But at least at the point that I was watching, it seemed they were just really weird results.
Amazing job vetting your own wargaming credentials. I think that's very appropriate on this podcast. Good job.
You know, I if I'm going to play a game about carrier operations in the Pacific, I'd rather play something like Gary Grigsby or something like what Task Force Admiral aspires to be. But that's just me. I don't play a lot of mobile games either, so.
So the App Store reviews, it's 4.5 out of 5, which is really high, out of like around 70 out of 74 ratings. And then the Steam is 24 reviews at 83%. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's interesting. I haven't played the PC version of it. I just remember I really enjoyed the iPad version of it. And
I feel like what I saw, it could be a good game on tablet. I just don't play a lot of games like that.
Yeah.